afternoon. We'd like to start the Town of Lake Cowichan regular meeting of council Tuesday, February 24th at 4 p.m. to be held and transmitted electronically via council chambers located at 39 South Shore Road, Lake Cowichan. We'd like to acknowledge that we hold our meeting on the traditional lands of the Subasit First Nations. So any introduction of any late items? Okay, approval of the agenda with remove, oh, sorry, John?
No late items, just 11A to defer to the March meeting.
That's what I was just going to read, with removal of the staff report A to a March meeting. And with that, we'll look for approval of the agenda. Councillor Austin by Councillor Frisbee, all in favor? Carried. Public input on agenda items only. No public here with us tonight. So we're going to move on to adoption of our meetings, January the 27th, our regular council meeting minutes. If there's anything council sees. What did you want? Just move them? Just move them? Okay, so looking for a mover for approval. Councillor Sandhu, Councillor Frisbee, carried. January the 22nd, Advisory Planning Commission minutes are for information only, presented on our website. Looking to adopt the minutes of February the 10th, Committee of the Whole meeting, which was our operating and capital budgets. Looking for someone to move. Councillor Frisbee, seconded by Councillor Austin. All in favor? Carried. Moving on to business arising and unfinished business, which is the actionable resolutions of February the 10th, which will be chaired by Councillor Frisbee, please.
General Administration Meeting Management Software. The Council approves the addition of $15,000 to General Administration budget for meeting management software for 2026. Public Works Parking Program. The Council approves the parking meters be changed to parking program for 2026. Public Works Fern Road, that Council approved the addition of $15,000 to the Public Works General Fund capital budget for research and report and possible implementation of the opening of Fern Road onto Point Ideal Drive. For General Government Otaki expenses, that Council reduced the Otaki expense budget of $15,000 to $10,000 for 2026. Sewer parcel tax, that the proposed budget reflect an increase to the sewer fund parcel tax budget for $25 annually, starting in 2027, with increase of $25 per year to 2030 year. Water and sewer parcel tax review, that review the amounts of the sewer and water parcel tax annual increase starting in 2027, with direction to staff to report back on the possible amendments to the parcel tax bylaw. 2026 taxation rate increase. The Council set a 4% tax increase for the Town of Lake Cowichan for 2026, and I'd like to move those actionable items.
A question from Councillor Sandhu.
Through to staff, so I want to bring forward to relook at the tax increase. So if this was passed, of the 4% that was motioned and passed at our last meeting, can it still be addressed later in the meeting when we're in budget?
It can be changed up to the point of adopting the bylaw. It would be ideal if council wishes to make a change to do so now prior to going forward to the public for consultation, but you can change it, yes.
So would we change it at this point in reviewing, passing these minutes from that meeting? Or would...
You'll review it during the revised budget presentation, which is coming up fairly soon here.
So we can still call the question on this one. So I needed a seconder though, Councillor Sandhu. So all in favor? Passed. The next one is the 2026 to 2030 financial plan, the operating and capital budget, public consultation.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you.
So this is the revised budget following our meeting on February 10th, where Council had a first look at the overall budget for the municipality for 2026 and 4 years up to 2030. As you will see on the second page of this, highlights the changes that have been made. So this is again our second version. We have made the adjustments to add $15,000 for the meeting management software. We have reframed parking meters to parking program, or rephrased it. We have reduced Otaki expenses from $15,000 to $10,000. We have applied the 4% tax increase. We have added $15,000 for Fern Road connection, and we have adjusted the sewer parcel tax for 2027 and beyond. These are all the changes that were just read out by Councillor Frisbee, also recorded in the minutes on February 10th, and those changes have been applied to these figures that we're about to go through here. So there haven't been any changes to the tax assessment information. This remained the same.
Any questions by any council members?
Okay.
Yeah, just move on.
I'll go to the areas of the budget that we actually made the changes so you can see what the results are. The BC assessment data for the island hasn't changed. This has remained the same. The information about the property valuation changes and how this may impact taxes. Thank you. Stay where you are. Page 5 has not changed. Page 6, this has changed and has reflected the 4% tax increase. It also reflects the $5,000 reduction for the Otaki budget, which is now $10,000 rather than $15,000. And it has also the $15,000 added for the management meeting software. At the end of the day, the draft consolidated budget anticipates $6,502,125 for revenues annual surplus before capital expenses. We anticipate spending $10 million in capital expenses, which means we are pulling $2 million from reserve in different places. Next page, please. With respect to the general fund, the 5-year 2026-2030 budget, again, as you can clearly see here, the 4% tax has been applied, which breaks down how much we're going to receive in taxes, grant and lieu, et cetera, et cetera. The total tax revenue for 2026 is estimated at $3,054,875. And all of the other information has already been discussed with council previously. The next page goes further into details about the general fund for 2026 specifically. Is there any questions from council on these items? The primary change here is the tax adjustment. Seeing no question, I'll move on to the next slide. The next slide is the capital and special project expenditures. So following the meeting from council, we made a few adjustments. We've added the town hall meeting management software, or the meeting management software for $15,000. That's on the general admin. The last item before the total general admin line Is everyone with me so far? Awesome. We've added the cost, we've changed parking meter to parking program, as you can see. We've added 15,000 for Fern Road, which is listed there. And those, I believe, are all the changes made to our capital and special project expenditure list.
Councillor Austin?
I think with the Fern Road, didn't we say the 15,000, we would look at seeing if that would work, and why was it closed in the first place?
Yes, so we actually had some internal discussion on this and went back and listened to the video. The decision that council made was to earmark or set aside 15,000 for the purposes of opening the road. However, no decision to open should be made until research is completed on why it was closed and some other information. Seeing no further changes to this, the next slide, please. This is again capturing the sewer and water capital projects that we have earmarked for 2026 and how they were funded, primarily focused around the wastewater treatment plant, upgrades to the lift station, raw water pump station, water main design for the reservoir down to South Shore Road, water main upgrades for Maple Avenue. The next slide is our general fund 5-year capital project, and it just breaks down what the town is expecting to spend over the next few years, which over the next 5 years, with respect to capital programs. This slide has not been adjusted except for 2026 column. Everything else in 27 to 2030 has been previously presented and remains the same. Seeing no further discussions, on page 12 of this package is just an updated reflection of the numbers. Page 13 has not changed, except for the Otaki expense. Page 14, fire department has not changed. All the information here presented remains the same, which again, the focus is on succession planning for 2026, fire smart program, and an additional 20,000 to include lease expenses for some work that are required over there.
Oh, yeah, Councillor Sandu.
Could we go back to page 11,
Sure.
please? So at our last budget meeting, we talked about, we set up a time to go do a walk through Lakeview Beach area. And so Councillor Austin, myself, and Manager Smith attended. And so we did a good walkthrough from one end to the other and had good discussion. So if we wanted to implement some funds, would that be under capital for that, or is it maintenance under Lakeview?
That's a great question. So what will determine if it's capital or operating will be the distinction between capital asset under a tangible capital asset policy, which has a threshold, I believe, of $10,000. And there's also a defining character that it has to substantially improve the asset for it to be capitalized, or it could be considered just an operating expense. In any event, regardless of whether it's capital or operating, I would be very interested in learning if there is any changes council would like to direct for the collect center, and if so, what values those might be from our manager. Lakeview. Or Lakeview. Is it the campground only?
Yeah, the beach.
The beach, okay. So if there's any changes council would like to discuss with the manager, please.
So basically, we did do a little bit of a walk around, as was stated, and looking at it to make some substantial improvements. Basically, it includes a lot of major landscaping. And the landscaping that we've talked about through Public Works for $20,000 was under the operating budget for Public Works. And we looked at the other side where it is normally used more by campers, in fact. And if we looked at both sides, the superintendent and I felt that it would be a total of about $40,000 that we would have to spend to make it a lot better. And so the project would be a big one. It's subject to weather, and that's why last year there was some comments about, it didn't look that great at the beach area because we had done some work the year before under operating, and then it has to settle, and we put sand there, and that would require more. So bottom line is, shorter answer, it would take about $40,000 to make the improvements that we talked about that particular day that we did the tour. And I think that, do you have anything to add, Jazz, from your part? Or we've looked at it together, of course, the superintendent and myself.
So then if there's a motion for 40,000, would we add that through the CAO? Would we add that extra 20 to the operations of Public Works? Like for them to do it, or like
The additional funds will sit under the department. Now, how we disperse the funds in terms of implementing the project, if we do it in-house, it would just be coded under the respective department. But no, it won't be, the funding for the Lakeview Campground and public beach area will not necessarily sit under Public Works.
So then where do I bring this forward for actual a motion and discussion then?
So you could make a motion right now to add it to the budget.
Okay.
The question that I'm trying to figure out is, what exactly are we doing for this? Which I will work with our manager to figure out the details about the specific budget amount and how it's going to be broken out per project. But council can pass a resolution to add $40,000 to the CLEC or the Lakeview department for that purpose.
I just have to make another comment on that. Basically, the work that we will do will be, it would be a cosmetic effect, which would make it look a lot nicer and prettier and groomed. Will it attract more business? Will it give us more money? You should know that that won't happen because of that, because the beach is going to be used one way or the other. It's very popular. So it depends on what council wants to do. And 20 is already allocated in Public Works under a function of parks. That was already done. So it's only another 20 that we would be adding.
So a question on page 11, are we looking at Lakeview Park where it says Lakeview renovations?
No.
Is that where we're seeing the 20? Or 17? Oh, I thought we went back to this for Lakeview.
And for those funds, you should also note that a lot of this would be sand and grooming.
Sorry, sand and
Grooming,
grooming.
yeah.
Councillor Frisbee.
So just for clarification, we've moved $20,000 to Public Works as they're taking over the maintenance of the public beach at Lakeview Park. So what we're talking about is extending that from $20,000 to $40,000. So we're looking for an additional $20,000.
That's correct. And that extra $20,000 would look at the other side of the beach that you often see people that are camping there walk down to, because the beach is split in half. I mean, anyone can use that whole beach, but it seems that campers use the other half and the public use the first half.
What was the original $20,000 earmarked for?
The public beach area. Because I've been trying to make the argument for years that, look, it's just another park, and it kept coming year after year under the budget for Lakeview Park. And at one of our management meetings, it was agreed that that's where it should belong, under parks.
I'd like to make a motion that we increase the budget for Lakeview Park, public beach, and I guess the campground from $20,000 to $40,000.
Seconded by Councillor Austin, and so this is just for the one-year budget. Any more discussion?
And that's reflected on page 17.
Okay. Any more discussion? Call the question. All in favor? Carried.
Can you help me out with this? So what I'm looking at, I'm looking for a clear number on what the deficit is. So if we are at a 4% tax increase now, what is the deficit number? Because I know we're pulling from different reserves, but can you give me a concrete number on what that is? I feel like it's around 1.9 million.
I'll take you to page 6.
Page 6.
Mhm. So the first line item I will draw your attention to is their total revenues, which is $13,974,825. Okay. Your total expenses is the next line item, which is $7,472,700. Your total surplus would be $6,502,125. But again, you have to remember that under the revenue section, there is a conditional grant of $5 million and change, which is directly linked to the lagoon. When you factor in your capital expenses of $10,342,000, transfers to reserve, so we're still maintaining our practice of adding to a reserve of $336,000. We are taking $965,000 from equipment reserve for, in large part, the fire truck. We are taking $1 million from unrestricted reserve, in large part for acquisition. We have a $2,130,875 deficit.
And just to follow up, so that's with the 4% tax increase, we're at $2.1 million deficit.
We're yes, with the 4% increase, yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Councillor Sanders.
So looking at the pages 20, what's the old one? The ones that have the tax increases, like the 4%, 2% and that, I spent the weekend reviewing that, and I'm just wondering, I felt I kind of jumped on the 4% at our last meeting. I feel that now. I didn't feel it then, but I feel it now. Because I think there was more to be added, whatever, to the budget. But talking to many residents, seniors, low-income housing people, people on disabilities, like they are struggling to be able to afford a 2 liter of milk. They're struggling to afford many things. And looking at from the 2% increase to the 4% increase, the difference is only $58,749. Is that correct?
I haven't done the math, but it's 117,000 for 4% and 58,000 for 2%.
Yeah, so I just wonder if there's an appetite to go back and relook at setting the 2026 tax rate increase from 4% to down to 2% for 2026.
I will leave the question about the appetite to do that for council to consider. What I will say is if there is a further adjustment to the tax increase from 4% to 2%, it means that $2,130,000 figure that is funded from general revenues, which also includes taxes, will be adjusted as well. If you look on page, one sec here. If you look on page 9, without the capital expenses, we would be in a surplus position, right? Page 9 lists all the capital projects. So as you can see here, at the bottom of this page, there is a total funding source of $3,792,000, of which $487,000 is coming from general funds, which also includes taxation. We have $1,074,000 coming from surplus. We have $1 million coming from unrestricted surplus, of which $800,000 is for public works building, $250,000 is for CATSA clinic improvements, and $30,000 for computer upgrades. We also have $965,000 coming from equipment reserve, the majority of which relates to a fire truck purchase. One sec here. $820,000 is earmarked for tender 14. The next one, other funds, we have $25,000 that is earmarked for interpretive trail, which is coming from an external source. Grants dependents, we have $30,000 earmarked for the generator for the EOC, which is for this building, which a grant application has been filed to UBCM for. The next one will be Community Works Fund, also formerly known as gas tax, $130,000 to be used, $40,000 for a compressor for a critical piece of asset from the fire hall, and $90,000 for the funding the remaining portion of the generator installation at the town hall. This is what makes up our $3 million, $3.7 million in capital expenditures from the general fund. And on page 10, we have the remainder, which is for water and sewer, of which we're spending $10,342,000. Of that amount, $1.3 million is coming from general funds. $2 million is coming from, and I didn't have the columns listed here. Surplus, $2.3 million is coming from surplus, and the rest is spread out between Community Works Fund, grants confirmed, grants dependent, et cetera, et cetera. So if council chooses to reduce the tax revenue for 2026 from 4% to 2%, you will have a resulting change in your top line revenue for taxation from 4 million down to whatever that adjustment will be. This is now on page 6. Page 6. So your very first line item, on the revenue, you have property tax, parcel tax, etc. This $4 million that's listed in the blue column is anticipating 4%. If you change that to 2%, this number reduces.
So that's basically saying if we reduce it, we have to take something out of the budget.
You may have to take something out of the budget, or just recognize that what remains in the budget will be funded from either unrestricted surplus or some other source of savings that we already have.
Councillor Sandu?
So what will the difference be then for the property tax revenue if we go to 2%? What is the difference from the 4.3 at 4%? That would come out of 4%.
So on page 26, the answer to that question is there. So you're looking at the 4% column versus the 3% column, the 2% column. 4% generates $3,054,000 in revenues, in taxation revenue. 2% generates $2,996,000.
Councillor Frisbee?
Yeah, I always like to put this in dollar terms. So on a $700,000 house, a 4% increase would be a $42 a year increase, and 2% would be $21 increase on their property taxes. And then just to note, inflation's at 2.5% at the moment. So I understand the concerns of Councillor Sandu, but I think it would be, I don't think it'd be the right move to reduce it from 4. And we're in line with other communities in the region, so it sets a bit of a precedence if we go below inflation.
Councillor Sandu?
So just kind of by my calculations, it would be about $311,000 difference if you subtracted the 2% from the 4% revenue. Well, that's over the 5 years, but that's over the 5 years, sorry. That was over the 5 years. 50, so it is a 58, but it says. Yeah. Yeah.
58,749.
My only concern is that we did this during COVID and dipped into, I think it was reserves, and I think for 2 years, and then we had to come back with a higher increase. And so I'd hate for us to go backwards, that all of a sudden this year we're trying to save some money and then having to take these 3% increases out over the next 4 years and all of a sudden raise those to 4 and 5%. Councillor Austin?
Yeah, I agree with that. I think we should keep it at 4. I think that's the only positive way forward at this point. I want to mention that I do tell seniors that I know quite well to pay online monthly, and that does help during the year, so you don't get this big tax bill in June. You still might get a little one, but if you can, and that money is out of your hands and you don't notice it so much, it really does help. We do that with everything. I'll pay partially every month, and it works. really helps.
So we'll move on with that and keep it the same. Councillor Austin, sorry.
Question, are we back to page 9 again? Can we, or are we finished? No, I meant with that last, with no other motion. I was at the Cats Health Unit today, and we were talking about the repairs that are going to be done. Are we paying for all the repairs? Are they not paying for anything?
Because the building is owned by the town is responsible for the cost, but the cost is recoverable through a lease agreement with
Okay.
the Public Health Authority.
And will it be a 5-year lease again, like it was in the past?
It can be, yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, we're moving on.
In terms of where we are, if there's no further questions on the request to change, we can continue on page 19. Also, this information has not changed from what has been presented to Council on February 10th. Page 20. Also, this information has not changed. Again, the water and sewer parcel taxes are driven by bylaws, both of which had been updated and approved by council in the early part of 2025. Page 21. We did make an adjustment to reflect, just for the purposes of projecting here, to reflect the request from council to have a $25 increase to the parcel taxes. So it's the very top item on the table to your left here, where it says $325 for 2026. And this is again for sewer, $350 for 27, $375 for 28, $429, and $425, 2030. Again, this is just captured in here to reflect the request made by council, but to give effect to that change, we would have to adjust the bylaw. The next item on page 22. This has not changed. This remains the same from what council has requested for us. Page 23, the sewer capital projects and water capital projects. Again, this was discussed earlier with council. This has not changed. The water fund 5-year capital plan. This reflects the increases in the bylaw for the parcel tax component. Actually, there is no increase. It's actually set at $350 in the bylaw that I recall. The rest of this has not changed. And page 25 also has not seen any changes from what council has seen on February 10th. And we are open to any further changes that council may wish to direct at this time.
Anyone from council? Councillor Austin?
I had thought about this, and I'm probably going to get shot down, but because the water is parcel taxes at $350 and the sewer is so badly underfunded, would we start with the water tax going up $25 this year to $350 to match the same as the sewer to match the same as the water? How does everyone feel about that?
Is that not set by bylaw already and we can't change that?
That's correct. It's set by bylaw. We would have to change the bylaw this year to take effect for 2027.
Yeah, I thought there was a talk when we were doing this that we would look at doing it so that there were small increments every year.
Yeah, that's on there. It's just
Yeah.
that it would be $350 this year, not $325. So it will go up 25 this year and then 25 every year if the next council so approves, I guess. Or that's what we've said. But I just wondered, I was wondering if we should put that up $25 too, because it's so highly underfunded.
While it is technically possible that we could have meetings to change that specific bylaw, I don't know that you'd have time to do so for this financial plan process. It is possible that you could change that bylaw before the election takes place for 2027.
Okay, all right, no problem.
Is there any further additions, subtractions in terms of projects, service level adjustments that council would like to see with respect to the financial plan for 2026 and the remaining 4 years?
Yeah, Councillor Sandhu.
Is this a time where we talk about the parking program? Or like, is that a separate item for discussion?
You could talk about it now or separately.
So we've approved 35,000. 45,000,
You have earmarked 45,000, yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
okay.
How that money is spent, we have to come back with a report, which you could dive in deeper on the parking study, et cetera, on how we are going to do parking enforcement, revenue models, et cetera, for the town.
So March is next week. Are we going to be able to implement something for this upcoming season? Like, I don't want a 20-hour conversation if it's not going to happen, honestly. We've done this now almost 2 years, last year and this year. So I'd like to either get on with it and implement something or just put it on a shelf until a council's ready to move forward.
Before I invite Superintendent Sandhu to speak to this, I just want everybody to be on the same page. In 2025, a parking study was completed. I don't know that any action has been taken on advancing the parking study recommendations forward. In the March Committee of the Whole, we can specifically delve deeper into this parking issue and the various options that could be implemented for the community. In 2026, you are setting aside $45,000 to do something. What that action is for us to decide at a later date. Now, in terms of your question of timing and will we be in a position to do something for 2026, I'll invite Superintendent Sandhu to provide his insights on that.
So we've actually worked on it longer than 2 years. It's been almost 4 years, just to correct that. And we can, I think if you guys approve the money, we can get working on it. I've provided several scenarios to Mayor and Council. The parking study you've got, a bunch of information from Robbins. There's different options, so we can sit down and look at all that. I can redo it all and provide it to you guys, so you guys can make a decision if you want to move forward with it or not.
Could we bring that to our committee of the whole meeting?
We can, yeah.
Thank you. Any more questions?
Is there any further changes to the expenditures and revenue models for 26?
Seeing none.
Seeing none, is council satisfied that this draft budget is acceptable to go out to the community for public consultation?
Yes.
Can I have a motion directing staff to do that, please?
Councillor Frisbee? Councillor Frisbee, and motion by Councillor Frisbee and seconded by Councillor Austin to send this off for public consultation with a date yet to be reserved, I guess.
I'll return it to you in March.
Thank you.
We'll be scheduling this for next week likely.
Okay, thank you. Pardon me? Oh, did I call the question? All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Okay, so we're moving on to delegations and representations, which we have none today. Just checking. Correspondence, we have from BCE Parks. I was a little confused because I was thinking this is part of the CBRD.
It is part of the CVRD, but we're also a neighboring municipality with a component of it close to our boundaries. So we were being consulted by the province on this proposed change to the park area. And we're open to council direction or decision on this.
Anyone have a conversation on it? Do we just,
We talked about it yesterday at the Cowichan Watershed Board meeting, and they think it's a good thing. It's protection of land.
so we'll leave that for staff then? Okay, so we'll move on to council and committee reports. Councillor Frisbee, you already did the committee of the whole. So then we're going on to Councillor Sandu, the Cowichan Lake Recreation Commission, please.
Did you report? No. Did you report in January? Okay. So our next meeting is March 30th.
Thank you. So the Vancouver Island Regional Library Board, we had our annual general meeting on Saturday in person, which was very nice. It's easier to concentrate. I want to share with council, the library board has come out with a trustee handbook. And I thought, oh my gosh, wouldn't this be so good for newly elected officials? So I'll pass it on to staff to look at. There was quite a lot of information here, from procedural bylaws, vision, mission, and value statement, a complete list of board trustees and all 39 branch locations. There's the rural leadership group responsibility, which is the same as any management, and it lists what their responsibilities and duties are. They have their strategic plan, they have their facilities master plan, along with an assessment on every library that they either own or lease, what needs to be replaced and fixed when, which is really interesting. They have their 2026 to 2030 financial plan, also showing all the member levies of every branch. And they also have all the board policies in the back, from whistleblower policies to all sorts of anonymous communications. And so it was a wealth of information that I thought the new council would probably benefit from, something like that that's all in one place. Yeah, it was really well done. I know it cost a little bit of money, but for new people it would be a welcome information pack. And now we move on to Councillor Sandu with the Advisory Planning Commission.
It'll actually be Councillor Austin.
Oh, I was at the last meeting, and the minutes were presented earlier. I don't think there's any questions, and we have Bridget here if there are. Thank you.
Our meeting that was scheduled for this Thursday has been canceled.
Mayor McGonigal is not here for the Community Forest Co-op, and I wasn't aware of any meetings. And Mayor McGonigal for Cowichan Valley Regional District, so the alternate that went would be Councillor Sandu. Hello.
So at our last CBRD budget meeting 2 weeks ago, the board passed a final percentage of 3.87%, and it is the third lowest percentage increase since 2007. Other years were 2014 and 2021. Tomorrow they will be finalizing the 5-year financial bylaw to approve, and Mayor McGonigal will be attending that meeting. And so how it looked for per 100,000 for our municipality, we will be paying $173.17 per $100,000 assessed. And in 2025, we paid $1.72 $172.24. So we had an increase of 93 cents for 2026.
Thank you. Councillor Austin for the community outreach team, please.
Thank you. It was a good meeting. We had lots of attendance there. Kristen from the library, Elijah and Jessica from the fire department, and Danny from the Cowichan Lake Recreation. Cameron mentioned that Strong Start for those aged 0 to 5 is up and running on Tuesday and Thursday. They manage it. Chelsea is the worker that works there. It's at Paulson again, and these sessions are well attended already. Wednesday from 1 p.m. is the Refresh Market, but it's no longer sponsored by the Cowichan Green community. Donations come from Country Grocer, local bakeries, some Nourish Cowichan, and they take some money from the Reaching Home funds to purchase eggs and milk and things like that. Cameron does hand out numbers to folks as they line up, and they've been getting 27 to 30 residents weekly. Monday and Thursday, the luncheon at Christian Fellowship Church again from 12 till 2. They're only serving about 10 at the moment. And Work BC will be hosting a job fair soon with a venue to be announced. So I was quite excited about that because I think Island Health asked us if there was going to be any kind of job fair here. So hopefully that'll be in the next couple of months. Elijah and Jessica from the fire department did some reporting. FireSmart would like to present information at Paulson for the Strong Start group parents at some point. Sunday, March 1st, the fire department is having a fundraiser for Tumbler Ridge with car wash, hot dog sale by donation from 12 to 3 at the fire hall. And they want the donations to go straight to the Tumbler Ridge Fire Department to make sure the money is going to the folks there in need, and it's not just one of the GoFundMes. April 10th, hockey game with the fire department is planned with donations going to a local charity. April 11th, the fire department is having a cornhole tournament at the Curling Lounge for donations that will go to a local family in need. The Kinets will run the tournament. Note that all our money from meat draws will stay local, and other funds are still being donated to Muscular Dystrophy Organization. May 16th, Elijah is organizing a FireSmart Home Challenge event at Central Park with food and entertainment for kids, etc., and this is just in the planning stages. Danny from Cowichan Lake Rec said their family day events went very well. They had 85 to 100 folks bowling at UBO, 250 residents were skating, 55 folks tried curling, and they do have 50 juniors from 8 to 18 learning curling. He was quite surprised at the young kids that came to learn curling. That was good, yeah. On May 1st, they'll host an island carpet bowling tournament for those over 55, and that's an island for several areas on the island. We usually have a really good turnout. It'll be in the curling rink when the ice is out. They're trying to bring back the Memory Cafe, where they work with Island Health for those affected by dementia. Apparently that worked very well a year or two ago. And Easter Sunday is the annual Easter egg hunt at Arbutus Park in Yubo and folks bring their paddle boards and go in the water afterwards too. I hope it's not too cold. But the Easter eggs are out in the field. They're not on the paddle boards. July 11th is the 75th anniversary of Yubo Lanes, the oldest handset alley in Canada, and there will be socials and refreshments and acknowledgements of former pin setters. July 18th is Honeymoon Bay Days. August 8th is Yubo Regatta. And they're now shortlisting for summer students and really need some lifeguards so they can run the swimming program. So if you know of any lifeguards needing a job this summer, that's really important. Kristen from VIRL said Wednesday baby time, 11 on Friday, and story time is very well attended. Nourish Cowichan provides snacks for the great kids that are frequenting the library after school and on Saturdays. They age 10 to 12 and are very helpful and respectful. Also available is a craft table and coloring contest area to keep them busy. And the summer reading club will again be up and running and generally has a very good turnout. I kept them up to date on staffing at the CATSA Health Unit, renovations happening there, also the info we learned at the Health Summit in Nanaimo, and our meeting with the First Nations and Island Health at our luncheon. And that we are presently working on the budget for the coming year and 5 years to follow.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And back to you again for our Cowichan.
Got to bring that up. Next meeting is March 12th. It's going to be at CVI, the Couch Valley Inn. It's a dinner meeting. It's regarding health and the economy, healthcare and the economy. And I did talk to the mayor to see if he would like to go as well. And I also contacted the Chamber of Commerce at Cindy's request to see if they would like to come as well, to see any connection between healthcare and the economy and small business and that type of thing. That's March 12th.
Okay, so we move on to Councillor Sandu for the Cowichan Watershed Board.
Thank you. Yesterday, we held a 3-hour roundtable information session. We didn't have a quorum, so many of us were on Zoom. The biggest concern was the lack of snowpack and the concerns of the status of the Cowichan River this year. The forecast is they're looking at it being even worse than 2023. So, and with changes with DFO and staff with the budget, the 2026 provincial budget, we had 2 members that were appointees from the province to the Watershed Board. Those positions are gone because those positions were terminated under the budget. So that's going to have to be looked at because there's 2 federal appointments and there's 2 provincial appointments. So that's a concern. So what Mr. Rutherford had said is they had a meeting with Domtar a week ago, and with Domtar taking up to 30% of the water they normally take for the mill, that is a bonus for the possibility of low water this year, but it's still not going to solve the problem that we face. And the concern also is that with the provincial budget, basically there's no money. Where do we stand? Because every year the budget is going up, but we're not getting the funds needed to get this project off the ground. So, and we still have not heard regarding the license agreement. So this is going on, what, 5 years, 6 years now that I've been involved in this. And each year it's going up $1 million or so. So our biggest thing is educating our community on water management. I think we really have to be leaders this year as a council, as staff, and I think during our public meeting that we will have in May, I think we really should just focus on water. I really do, because people look to the lake and say, we've got lots of water. There's no worry. If we didn't have that weir, the river would be dry. So we have a severe water problem. So, and our next meeting is March 30th.
So either Councillor Frisbee or Councillor Austin for the Otaki twinning.
The next meeting for the 2027 group is Thursday. They're now going to be meeting at Serious Coffee when it's closed in the evening. And I did connect or send an email to Ayako in Japan to ask the amount of people that they would like to have come. Like they have 10 students right now and 8 adults. And they're wondering if that's too many. And she hasn't gotten back to me yet. So I did send a second email. And I'll talk with Ronnie later to see if there's another course of action.
Thank you.
Councillor Frisbee, did you want to make a report? No, we're good. Okay. So from that, we're moving on to staff reports. So 11A was removed until March. And so we're moving on to B for the development permit and development variance permit application, DP 2026-01 and DVP 2026- is that a Q or a 01 for slopes phase 6. So our planner?
Thank you, Council. So we've got the first, or this application as relates to a property that is under a subdivision application. So this is both for a development permit as well as a variance to Section 611 of the subdivision bylaw. So this is phase 6 of the slopes, and the proposal is for a 15-lot phase. And the property zoned R1, required minimum lot size is 600 square meters. And the proposed lots in this subdivision range from 684 square meters to 1353 square meters. Now, there's the creek, which is a tributary of, is it Beadnell or Bednell? Creek that flows through the proposed subdivision. And you're probably familiar that the Salmon Enhancement Society has a hatchery on Bednell Creek. The proposed subdivision layout, as you can see on the schedule, on the attachment, flows through 5 of the lots. What the variance request relates to is the Section 611 of the subdivision bylaw says that there's a minimum of 25% of the streamside protection enhancement area can be within a lot. As proposed, there is a range with each of these 5 lots, and there's on table 1, page 2 of the report breaks down the percentage. So you'll see, it ranges from 26% to 34% of the SPIA is proposed to be within the lot. So there's also the riparian area protection regulation assessment report was completed and submitted to the province as required and establishes the 10-meter SPIA. So that's what you're seeing with that darker gray is that 10-meter SPIA. And due to the province recognized or identified that there were some original issues with the original riparian area regulation report, and so required the condition and impact assessment report to be completed. And so that also forms part of or is identified as an attachment to this report. The SIA report establishes restoration for the SPIA, and that would be conditioned as part of the variance, but as well it would be a condition of the subdivision, the preliminary layout letter that is to be issued. Let me see here. So as I said, so the SPIA is 10-meter wide, and there you'll see if you go back to the schedule or the attachment number 1, how the SPIA is in both the rear lots of lot 15, lot 14, and lot 15 and lot 14, and then in the side yards of lot 1, lot 2, and lot 13. So with this, the thing to think about is that there is adequate building area. So for a construction of a single-family residence, what can become challenging is that on the side yard, the setback is 2 meters, So the SPIA is pushing them sort of further away from the stream, so from the side yard. So it's kind of moving them further to the west. But what tends to happen, and we've dealt with this with a couple of applications where there's the SPIA, and then the tendency is to build directly adjacent to the SPIA. So it becomes kind of the de facto sort of setback line, which is a bit problematic because there's a tendency to build right up to it as opposed to having any kind of additional offset. So what the recommendation in the report is consideration of requiring an additional sort of setback from the SPIA so that there is adequate buildable area and then also adequate usable yard, whether it's the side yard or the rear yard for the subsequent construction. The thing is now that with this, so the subdivision, if it should, as it proceeds, the riparian area regulation requires a wrapper assessment for the subdivision, and then when it comes to subsequent construction on each individual lot, the provincial regulation also requires another more detailed assessment to be completed. That assessment doesn't change the SPIA necessarily, but it's just recognizing then that the developer is doing more than, or whomever, the applicant is doing more than just subdividing the land, but actually constructing on it. And so the intent is that there's perhaps additional requirements that need to be met. So as recommended, to approve the development permit for DPA number 1, and then to approve the request by the applicant as presented, but also for consideration to increase, what did I have? That the works would be considered, I'm seeing here, to increase the size of the SPIA within the proposed lots 1, 2, 3, 14, and 15, and that all works be consistent with the conditions and impact assessment report. Also with the replanting plan, there's a condition of a landscape bond as well, installation of a split rail fence that would be done as a condition of subdivision, and also the section 219 be required. And now I'm seeing here that I missed, because I did.
Can I just ask a question? Should it be lot 3 or should it be lot 13?
Lot 13.
Okay, so we'll just have to amend that.
Oh, thank you. So yeah, it's lot 1, 2, 13, 14, and 15. And I did suggest in the conclusion of the report to speak to adding an additional setback, but I see now that I didn't make it in the recommendation. But an additional setback of 2 meters from the SPIA be considered as well, to move the development further away from the SPIA. It doesn't mean to say, I mean, a builder, when they come in, they may request of council a variance to the front yard setback to push it forward, and council can consider it at that time. But at least this would certainly allow for that distance from the SPIA to allow for the construction without encroaching into it, and then for an additional side yard or rear yard of 2 meters.
So then we need to amend your recommendation to add that. So would
Yes.
you want that as part of the motion at the table?
Yeah. Yes, please. And apologies for that.
Okay, so I'd like to motion the recommendation from our contract planner with the amendment of lot 13 instead of 3, and also under the subject to having a 2-metre setback from the sphere. Is that all right?
Yeah.
Seconded by Councillor Sandu. Discussion?
Just on the future plans of that development, so there's obviously planting already happened on the property. So I guess we don't have any authorization once it goes north, like to go up the creek, because it seems like there's some planting already been done, but there hasn't been?
No, it hasn't been done yet, because the land has been cleared and so on. I mean, there's some planting that has happened on Phase 5,
Right.
but not on Phase 6, because they're still working on it. And we do have the applicant here as well.
Okay.
to-
No, I must have been confused on which phase I was looking at today.
Yeah, but Phase 5, they've done planting, and then this would happen at a later time.
Okay, thank you.
You're good? So call the question. All in favor? Carried. So we're moving on to the development application DP 2025-04, an amendment for 276 Towle Road.
Thank you. So this is, yeah, a pretty straightforward amendment to the original development permit for DP 2025-04. Again, there were issues with the original riparian area regulation assessment report that was completed, and so the applicant had to complete a conditions and impact assessment report. So it's just accepting the SIA report and also their revised replanting plan.
At what stage should the landscaping bond be paid? I see that it's outstanding.
It should be paid now.
So to follow up, should we approve this if the bond hasn't been paid?
Go ahead.
You can approve it on the condition that the landscape bond be paid before issuance by the town.
Yeah, I'll move the recommendation with the addition that the landscaping bond be paid before approval from staff.
Before issuance of the permit.
That's what I said, I think. wasn't it?
So got a seconder for that? Councillor Austin. Any more discussion? I call question. All in favor? Carried. So we're moving on to another planning LCRB referral, liquor license hour changes for the Riverside Inn at 56 North Shore Road.
Thank you. So this is kind of a preliminary referral, and it's a question as to whether or not council might consider the change of hours for the Riverside Inn to be open 2 hours earlier. Council's sort of nod towards the application would allow the applicant to submit their application to the LCRB, which would then trigger a referral. And I understand from the applicant that they've already proceeded. They've already decided to make their application to the LCRB, and so we should be receiving their referral, which would then trigger the public consultation. However, council can still, make the decision to say that we don't want to entertain this, and that this change in the Riverside Inn opening hours from 11 to 9 a.m.
So this is much the same as the one for the cannabis application.
Yes, it's similar, yeah.
Okay. Any discussion? Councillor Austin?
Yeah, I don't know, are other liquor establishments opening at 9 a.m. in the morning? I know they did 5 the other day for the hockey game, but that was unusual. It's pretty early to start drinking, I just thinking.
I haven't done any kind of assessment of other establishments to know what their hours are. I believe there was an application that came forward from Cow Cafe last year. I don't know, was that for?
That was
hours?
later, I think,
Oh,
not
it was-
earlier,
okay.
I think, yeah. Anyway, I wouldn't be in favor of 2 hours early myself.
I guess we have to have discussion whether we pursue this further to let it go to the next step and then public consultation, or we as council now say not at this time. So I think we can open for discussion if that's appropriate. Okay. Any councillors have anything else to add? Yep, go ahead, Councillor Sandu.
Well, I'd just like to make a motion to approve this for the owners of the Riverside Inn to change their hours starting at 9 a.m. instead of 11 a.m.
Councillor Crispy, you second it?
And then can I have discussion?
Can you have discussion?
Yeah.
Yes?
If it's going to help their business, I don't know. Like, I'm not going to say nobody should be drinking at 9 a.m. It's not my business. The liquor store's open at 9 a.m. So if they want to drink, they're going to drink. If it's a revenue generated request, I'd be curious what their reasons are. And obviously, it's not in this report. Or was it on the application?
Well, that's just it. It's not so much an application at this point. We'll get really more details. It's asking council whether there's any consideration that should an application come before them, that you would direct public consultation, and we'll have more information. But to be honest, I didn't spend a whole lot of time on this. And there is an attachment from the applicant to the report, and that provides some of their rationale that they want to be able to serve liquor during breakfast and brunch periods. Or I suppose breakfast.
So I'm all okay with it going ahead for public consultation. Personally, we're setting precedent for anybody who's allowing liquor to open at 9 o'clock now, which could be problematic during our busy tourist season, especially. I would like to find out what the RCMP has to say, especially when there was concern that a lot of the people that they pulled in over for impaired driving were people who were on their way to the liquor store at 10 o'clock in the morning. But if the table wishes to send it forward to public consultation, I'm fine with that. So if there's any more discussion, I can pose the question. Anybody who wants to go ahead with the recommendation of the contract planner for option 1, that council agree to accept the preliminary request to change opening hours from 11 a.m. to 9 a.m. for the Riverside Inn and Pump, located at 56 North Shore Road, legally described as Parcel B, DD 33019I, Section 6, Renfrew District. So a formal application to the Liquor Control Board can be made, and that council provide direction to staff regarding public consultation for the referral application once received. Call the question. All in favor? You're against? Okay, well, I'll in favor of sending it for referral. Councillor Austin, if you'd like to be recognized as no, that will be carried.
And I just have another question as far as the recommendation. Is there any additional direction as far as the public consultation? You mentioned the RCMP. Typically under the bylaw, it's 50 meters to adjacent properties. You've identified RCMP. Notice would be posted on the website, notice on the Facebook page. And is there anything else that council would like as far as direction for public consultation.
Sorry, did you say the newspaper, 2 issues of the newspaper?
Not typically, no.
Not typically
No.
anymore? Okay.
But
Okay.
if council, if the addition then to sending it to the RCMP for their comments is what I'm hearing.
We're good? Is council good with that? Yeah, we're good. Thank you. Okay, so then we're moving on to a zoning amendment by law R3. So we'll go back to Bridget, I believe.
Yeah, we don't have a staff report attached, but it's final reading of the amendment to R3 to change the table to the setbacks, so that we're removing the requirement for the front face garage differential and allowing builders to have the option to do that differential if they so choose.
Which is one we've been working on for a while. So,
Yes, this bylaw has received first, second, and third reading on January 27th, and we're looking for adoption.
okay, would anyone like to move that? Councillor Austin, seconded by Councillor Frisbee. Any questions? All in favor? Carried? Thank you. So we have under new business, Councillor Frisbee is requesting a leave of absence. No? Oh,
Yeah, the leave of absence would be for the committee of the whole meeting on March 10th. I'm traveling to New Zealand to visit my parents. I may be able to zoom in if I can figure out the time zones, but I'd like the option of a leave of absence.
moved by Councillor Sandhu, seconded by Councillor Austin. All in favor? Are you? Okay, it's you.
Putting their hands up.
You are good. You're zooming it? Good. Well, don't wake us up in the middle of the night, though. So I got a small deputy mayor's report. It's been a real eye-opener in 5 weeks as I fulfilled my role as deputy mayor. I've had a great insight into the daily operations and challenges that our staff and management endure on a daily basis. On council, we've been busy working on our development approval procedures bylaw and our 2026 draft budget, as well as attending our committee meetings. I sat in on staff interviews, met with Dom Tar regarding the Weir, issued a statement with other elected officials against racism in the Cowichan Valley, and extended our town sympathies to the Tumbler Ridge community. Thank you to all our staff that keep our town running smoothly, even taking on increased workloads while others are off for extended timelines. To my fellow council members, my appreciation for your support and confidence as we all stepped up during Mayor McGonagall's absence. I couldn't have done it without your help. Our CAO, Mr. John Thomas, thanks for having regular meetings with me to keep me up to date on daily happenings and aiding me through decisions that had to be made. Your guidance and faith in me did not go unnoticed. We have a remarkable team from the top down, and I will defend every one of you in this organization amidst public complaints and criticisms, which seem to be occurring with great frequency, as it is also being witnessed in neighboring communities by elected officials. This would also be an opportunity to announce Pink Shirt Day tomorrow, February the 25th, to stand against bullying. You all come to work every day, and you do your best to make Lake Cowichan a wonderful place to live. And please note that you are all appreciated by this council. And with that, Mayor McGonigal, if you're listening, glad to see you're returning, and your gavel is waiting for you. Thank you. And with that, we are Question period to, oh, sorry, what? Notices of motion, we have none, I don't think. Question period limited to the business conducted at the meeting. For off-site people, they can phone 250-749-3239. For in-person attendees, you get a maximum 3 minutes per speaker. Oh, we have. So will we wait to see if we get a ring-a-ling-a-ling? No? We don't need to? Okay. So we're moving now to our in-camera portion. Would you like to read it or me?
I have a simpler option.
Okay.
The resolution as presented.
Anyone want to move that, to move in camera? Councillor Austin, seconded by Councillor Frisbee. All in favor? Thank you.